Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna, also known as Jonis La Bella, here on my channel. Today's video is going to be a little interesting. I'm going to do a chit chat, get ready with me. I'm also going to review again the Grinch palette. I already did a review. Well, technically I already did my first impressions on a previous video, but I haven't decided whether I'm going to upload this video first or the other video. This is Make Up Revolutions and the Grinch collection. It retails for about $12. Kind of just wanted to talk about what everybody else is talking about right now, which is the new documentary on Peacock. And it is, of course, by the infamous Caylee and her coming out. And I figured, you know what would be great? It will be a chit chat, get ready with me. Let's review this palette together and also talk about the docuseries. I am 26 years old. So when this stuff came out, yes, it's been 11 years. Back then I was fairly young, and obviously I was able to look into the story as I got older. However, now that I'm actually 26 and the fact that I'm a mom, I was like, I have to talk about this. Like, my whole channel is really, talking about life and also about motherhood. So I was like, you know what? Let's add a twist to today's video and go ahead and talk about the docuseries because it's intense.
But with me right now, it's actually 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
But I have with me here my coffee. I got this coffee mug from Five Below for $5. Seeing this documentary come out now as a parent, and you're just like, it makes... Not that it makes much more sense, because trust me, it doesn't. And plus, a lot of people don't want to watch the docuseries to give reviews. So apparently, Peacock had originally reached out to Nancy Grace and asked her, hey, would you like to interview Casey Anthony for our documentary? And the reason why she declined, apparently, was because they didn't want her to ask her own questions. Basically, Peacock wanted to be in control of asking these questions. Nancy Grace wanted to cross-examine her, and as she should, as all of us should, That's why she declined, because she's like, well, would be bogus. And I see where her perspective comes in, because technically, I mean, and when you are watching the series on Peacock, you do see a lot of that happening. You do see that they're almost like testing the waters and kind of walking on eggshells around her with these questions. And they're not very, they don't cross-examine her. They try to kind of not be so offensive. They try to almost feel like they're on her side. And that's why so many people are freaking angry at Peacock. But I digress. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. You could just see all of that in the documentary. You can see and you can feel that they're not asking the questions, or they're too afraid to ask certain questions. Almost like they're following Casey's lead and kind of just letting her spill her beans. I don't know if Peacock meant for this to happen. I don't know. I don't think we would ever know or get to the bottom of it. But I know there's a lot of theories out there in regards to Peacock and whether they're paying her. Of course, she is at one point was the most hated person in America, the most hated woman in America. And I think now it's literally rising all those feelings up again. Everyone's pissed all over again, and so rightfully so. I mean, we're talking about a child, a 3-year-old. I have a 2-year-old, okay? And most of my friends, we have kids now. Felt like there was an injustice, and now as a parent, not only do I resonate with the child, not only do I resonate with the family, I just resonate with the whole case, because I'm not only going through that stage where the trying twos or the terrible twos. I mean, I've also heard the three-nagers. As a mother, you feel a certain way. Let's talk about it. Leave comments down below. Obviously, be respectful. I've been seeing a bunch of TikToks, and I've seen other YouTubers talk about this case. Obviously, not going to get into the nitty-gritty details, because obviously this will be a long video, and it's really just supposed to be chit-chat, basically a summary, a spark notes of what's been happening.
It's what, the talk of the town? It's the talk of the town? Town talk? I don't know. But everyone's talking about it, so...
Get whatever you need to, your wine if you need to listen to today's video, because sometimes it does get you a little pissed off. And me and my husband have watched it together. We actually watched the documentary because I thought I was gonna sit there and get some answers, and Lord, it is so confusing and so conflicting. And it's just me and my husband felt sick to our stomachs. Just like America felt sick to their stomachs 11 years ago, that's how we still feel.
Diosito mío.
I already put some lotion, and I tried to shave it down because, your girl is a little hairy. And I just forget sometimes to freaking shave my face. personally like to shave my peach fuzz because I feel like I'm hairy, okay? If I don't shave my face, I'm gonna have a mustache. I'm hairy, but ever since plucking my eyebrows,
my eyebrow hairs don't grow the same. But needless to say, the only thing that grows the same, regardless of how much I pluck and shave, is my freaking, you know, every girl has it, okay? At this point, we already know.
But anyways, yeah, so I just have a bare face. I put some lotion on. This is how she looks like. It's very cute. You see some of the shadows I already dug into. The purple ones, I already dug into because that's the look I did on my previous video. And like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna upload this one first or if I'm gonna upload the other one. I think I'm gonna do something with the greens because I'm kind of wearing a green sweater. And I realized when picking out today's outfit, I don't really have a lot of green and I need some new clothes. As a mom, I literally feel like I need new clothes because this is all I could pull out. And it's like a mint green, but who knows? We may keep it on, we may not. To be determined. I just did the soapy brows. I'm saying this, but you're probably gonna have to do your own research if you do not know about this case because it's a lot, dude. Just my opinion about the case. I just feel so sad because of the way Caylee's body was found. If you guys don't know, she was found in like this bushy area, and basically she was in a bag that was taped up. The infamous duct tape around her mouth and her Winnie the Pooh blanket. And I just, Lord, I don't even know how to explain that. Like, I don't know how to even begin to grasp that that poor child was only 3 years old and she was thrown out like trash. That's the main reason why it's so infuriating, because a child she can't talk for herself, you know, she can't defend herself. Whoever did this to her, there was no way of escape. I'm setting my eyelids because I'm going to do my eyeshadow first. I'm using the Marc Jacobs to set my eyelids, and then I'm going to use it also to set my face. The shade 34 Invisible Finish Line. I'm going to be using the Believe Beauty foundation because I am pale. I'm also using an ABH brush. Basically, it's just an eyeshadow brush. I already mentioned this before, but if you haven't watched my other chit chats, get ready with me. You already know I just like to use what I have, and this brush is actually not that bad. I have brow brushes, but there's something about this that I just keep going back to this. Don't be pressured into buying more brushes because you'll be surprised what you can do with the brushes you have already. The way Casey acted when, you know, this whole thing was unraveling, for starters, she didn't freaking call the cops until 31 days of her daughter being so-called missing. 31 days. Every parent is asking, why a whole month? Why wait a whole month? Apparently, you know, and if you watch the other documentaries out there, it wasn't the fact that she even called the cops. It was her mom, Cindy. Where's the child? Why haven't I seen the child? What's going on? Like, and apparently, what's her face? Casey kept playing games and was like, oh, like she's with Zanny the nanny. She's not with me right now, or she's asleep. Like she would avoid her parents, seeing her parents and letting her parents talk to Caylee because Caylee was asleep, or Caylee wasn't available, or Caylee was with the nanny. And then one day, out of the clear blue sky, 31 days, passed by, and Casey decided to tell her mom she's been missing for 31 days and that the nanny took her and that she's been trying to find her on her own. First off, as a mom, if the nanny of my son took him, I mean, I'd be every day looking for him, but I also would have called the cops. And that's what everybody is literally saying. Not partying, because she was partying. Within those 31 days, she was partying. And now she's claiming on the freaking Peacock Docuseries that she wasn't really happy that you won't see her with a drink in her hand. And yes, I know the media is toxic. I know that. And I know that some of the pictures are not from the 31 days apparently, and that some of the pictures are from other parties. But however, there's also physical evidence of her actually partying and going to these events within those 31 days. See, in this documentary, it is solely based on her side of the story, which go figure. We kind of knew that. But I was thinking, oh, maybe she's gonna say something that's gonna make some sense for once in her life. Like maybe we finally can get some like closure. Like maybe there's actual, like a legitimate reason. Maybe it was accidental, right? And it just left you so confused. And it's all about her. The shade Mr. Grinch as my transition shade, and I'm going in with a elf blending eye brush. I love elf brushes, like they're my favorite. Back when they used to be $1, I think they're not $1 anymore, but that's fine. Their brushes are literally legitimately one of the best brushes. As I recall from this palette, it does dust off a lot, as I recalled from using it the first time, so I'm gonna be careful this time around. I'm gonna hope that it doesn't do that as much. So you can tell it's really good color payoff. As I recall, yeah, the matte shades are probably going to be much more easier to work with than the shimmer shades, because when I first used the shimmer shades, not only was there a lot of fallout, but also like it was hard. Like you kind of had to almost get through the first layer of the shimmer shade before, you know, it actually ended up on your eyelid. And then I recall using my fingers a lot to take in emotionally as a parent, and it just makes you angry. How can people still support her? And like, I get it, like, because she tried saying in the documentary that she was SA'd and she went through abuse. And I'm not trying to say that that didn't happen. Like, honestly, when I was watching it, I'm gonna put some chapstick on. I genuinely felt for her. I felt like some of her tears were real. I'm not trying to say that she didn't go through abuse, because I don't know that. But the whole point is about Caylee. Like, we want to know what happened to her. And it's not about her anymore. And yes, okay, if she did go through that. And in the documentary, she said, well, there's no such thing as a statute of limitation, like, period, in Florida for SA or abuse for what her father did to her. Because that's what she was claiming. She was claiming that, oh, it's her father, you know, it's her father's fault that this whole situation happened, and she tried to pin it on her father. And I'm not saying that her dad is completely innocent in this, because he's a weird guy. I do feel like he is a weird guy. Celestial Sylvia on TikTok, and she also has a YouTube channel. She goes over like the whole Anthony family, and yes, I do believe that there's something obviously heavily wrong with that family. I feel like trauma. And then the whole time in the documentary, she was like, I still don't know what happened. I don't know entirely what happened. She gives different variations of stories, which I'm going to get into, but she still claims, I don't know what happened. And I just have like bits and pieces. Like, I just want to know the truth. And it's like, you were there. Because she also claims she was there when it happened, which is like, so contradictory. Every episode you were like, okay, you thought you were getting somewhere, and then the next episode you're like, that's not what she said previously, and like that doesn't add up, and this doesn't add up, and you're just like, what is going on? And at the end of the whole freaking series, you still are left empty-handed. You're back to square one. Don't understand anything. Your theory is practically the same, just with some added details. 530 jazzercise. I'm gonna go in with my finger in hopes that, oh god, yes. See, it lays better, but the fallout, I felt it already on my cheek. You know what these remind me of? ¿Cómo se llama the other brand that I see all the time at Walmart? Oh, it reminds me of Profusion. That's what it reminds me of. These shades remind me of Profusion. They're amazing shades and they're beautiful, but there's a lot of fallout. There's a lot of like glitter to them. You know what else I haven't tried out? Don't hate me, but I haven't tried out ColourPop at all. See how pretty that is? It's cute. I'm getting new brushes as I go. Like, I have a whole stack of them. Like, I'm not even playing games. See? So it's not like I'm reusing the same brush. But I have a ton of the e.l.f. brushes. I'm gonna go in with Loath Entirely. At one point, Casey did make me feel kind of bad and sorry for her, because what she was saying that had allegedly happened to her, whether or not it's true, I don't know, because Trauma it can affect you really bad. The people that support her, they even said it, trauma was barely getting talked about back then. And I think now in our day and age, everyone knows that trauma is a thing and that trauma causes a lot of issues, has a lot of play into who you are going to be as a person, etc. I've been learning about trauma myself with my own experiences, and I'm reading currently Lindsay C. Gibson's book of adult children of emotionally immature parents. Has been helping me a lot. So I know what trauma can cause. I am reflecting what has been going on in my own family and reflecting on my own character and my own life. With Casey, like I was telling my husband, like I'm studying trauma and they talk about trauma, and I understand why she will become a compulsive liar because of everything that she's been through with her family and the way that she got spoken about. Like everyone denied her pregnancy. They were at a like family party and they were telling family like, oh no, like Casey isn't actually pregnant. Like it was very hush hush. And supposedly how Casey was saying that when she was apparently abused or almost SA'd by her brother, that her mother like called her these names that I don't want to say. And I can see that. I can see how a family that is that way can create their own child to become the person she is known for today, a pathological liar. And also, I know, I don't know about you guys, comment down below. I know a few pathological liars, and I know a few people that are like people pleasers, and that they're kind of like not everything. I don't want to call them dumb because they're not dumb. It's just that they can't think for themselves. Like, have you ever met somebody who can't think for themselves and like their parents have to like brainwash them? They're susceptible to like peer pressure. And like I've had friends like that, and I know what that seems like. And I had my fair share with pathological liars. It's almost like they can't control it and it's like a part of them. So like that's why when I was watching the freaking documentary, I was like telling my husband like, okay, like I understand like trauma will do that, because my husband was like, oh, like she's just lying. And I was like, well, she could be lying, but also like that could be a response to trauma, because I am reading about that and I am learning about that, and that does happen. And plus two, her father was a cop, so it's very sketchy, and I feel like the whole freaking family has issues. She lied about working at Universal Studios. She literally walked into Universal Studios, into the HR department, and walked the investigators. She didn't know at the time, but the investigators already knew that she didn't work there, that she wasn't working there. And so she even went there, said hi to everybody. She faked it until she couldn't make it. And so she got to a dead end and turned around and said to the investigators, oh, I actually don't work here. And so that was one of the first lies that they caught her. And then the whole Zanny, the nanny situation, a lot of people have theories about how it was Xanax that she overdosed her on, and that's why she used the name Zaynada. I feel so bad for anybody at that moment in time that was named Zaynada. Lo and behold, she was lying the entire time. Imagine if they would have found somebody by that name and that she knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like I don't think she was thinking anything. I think she was just CYA on her own self, which is terrible because the entire time her child was missing. I was beginning to feel sorry for her in the documentary. I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, maybe perhaps it's trauma response. Maybe she went through all of this. Like maybe George has something to do with it, right? But then when I started seeing other people's videos, on a TikTok, someone made a comment saying, you know, it's easy for her to release this 11 years after the fact because a lot of people have forgotten a lot of the information and facts from the case. But it's true. I feel like a lot of us did forget like the facts, did forget what she did and how she acted and what she said right after in that moment that Casey was missing for 31 days. And you know what made it for me? What made me realize again, like, okay, like maybe I shouldn't have a lot of sympathy for this person, was the fact that when she was in prison, she had phoned her family and was like, oh, I need her boyfriend's number at the time. I need it now. Like, and like the parents were like, you're not worried about your child? Like, they were like, the mom was like, Casey, like, what about like Caylee? Like, where's Caylee? Even her friend got on the phone. They like passed the phone around trying to get this woman to talk and say, oh, well, were the last one to be with her. Like, where is she at now? And even her brother got on the phone. Lee got on the phone and was like, you're frustrating us because you're not helping us find Caylee. You're avoiding, like, basically insinuating like she's avoiding the questions, like, and that they were gonna cut her off. Like, they didn't know what else to do, and so rightfully so. Like, if my sister, my brother was in jail and I haven't seen my niece or nephew for 31 days, I'll be like, bro, cut the BS. Tell me, like, what's going on? Like, can I help you? Like, what can I do? Like, where's she at? And that's what everybody wanted to know in the phone call, sitting at jail. And she was starting to say she had an attitude, first off, and I was just like, that doesn't sound like a grieving mother. That doesn't sound like a worried mother. She was kind of more like a F you type of thing, and was saying like, well, if you're not gonna give me the phone number, like, it was a complete waste of time calling you guys. Like, almost like she was implying that her family was over dramatizing the situation and that Caylee was fine, and like, can I still get that number though? The entire time she was pissed off because they wouldn't give her boyfriend's phone number. And that right there, I was like, I didn't see her the same, because hearing her that angry about that, but not angry about her daughter and not being concerned about her daughter, mind-boggling. Like, her whole defense team, what they said, that Caylee drowned under Casey's supervision and that the dad came home and found her and yelled at Casey and was like, you know, how can you be irresponsible? Like, you know, putting her down as a mother, like you weren't taking care of her, yada, yada, right? And what everybody's frustration is after watching this documentary, what my frustration was, okay, if that's what you convinced the whole world back then and that's why you got acquitted, got off for, why is it that now in this docuseries you're saying, well, you and Caylee were sleeping on a bed and that somehow, some way, Caylee went somewhere, or you were no longer holding her when you were sleeping together? Which makes no sense, because I don't know what mother would not feel when their child wakes up and gets off the bed. Ever since becoming a mother, I always was a light sleeper, but now since becoming a mother, like, I am a super light sleeper. Like, I hear everything. Like, and the fact, like, I've never co-slept with my child, but let me know if you have. But like, I'm pretty sure if you co-sleep with your child, you're gonna know when your child gets up, especially a heavy toddler. Like, she was 3 years old. She's not a baby, you know. It's not like she's lightweight. I mean, she's a good solid 30 pounds, if that. And how you're not gonna feel her, first off, going over you or getting off the bed, because apparently she has some pillows pinned up against the wall, and like, she was laying down and then it was her. How are you not gonna feel her get off of you, or someone even coming, reaching over you and getting her? And then on top of that, she was trying to blame the dad, that the dad reached over somehow, some way, and got her. But then because she was essayed and abused by her father, she even said in the docuseries that she would wake up to the door opening, just because she knew like every single thing would wake her up in the middle of the night as a child, because since 8 years old, she has been having her father come into her room. Okay, but then if that's exactly what he did, right? Why didn't you wake up then? She's trying to say in the docuseries that the ladder wasn't in the pool, by the pool. Relive Beauty foundation. I'm gonna go in with my Total Face Sponge by e.l.f. Like 1 to 2 pumps. I think I'm gonna do like 2.
I actually don't wet my sponge.
I've never have. I stopped doing that a long time ago. I just feel like it doesn't work for my skin. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't. Let me know if you're like me. I would love to hear if you do the same thing. But anyway, so yeah, so apparently her father came back in her room and shook her awake and was like, where's Caylee? And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, right here. And then she looked and she wasn't there. And then she said that she started looking outside and that there was no ladder to the pool, so she couldn't have drowned. And then like, she was out looking in her playhouse outside, and everywhere she could think of, she was looking for her daughter, right? But then all of a sudden, she sees her father holding Caylee, and that she's soaking wet and cold to the touch, and that she's just started bawling her eyeballs out, and you know, basically like crying. Your immediate reaction wasn't to like feel for a pulse or anything like that. You just kind of listened to your father, that everything was gonna be okay. She said something that made no freaking sense. She's like, oh yeah, no, like my dad, her body was soaking wet, but I know my dad did something to her. It wasn't just a drowning. Like he had to have dipped her in the pool and made it seem like it was a drowning. And I'm just like sitting there like, dude, like, what? And first off, why didn't, if you saw it happen, if you're there, why wasn't your immediate reaction to call 911? Why would she assume that she's alive? Like, why would you assume she's alive? I would assume that the worst. Every parent assumes worst case scenario. My son can go outside and bust his knee and scratch. And then if he's limping, I'm like, oh, he broke his bone. Like, parents always assume the worst. And you act upon assuming the worst. And she didn't. And then she believed her father saying that everything's going to be okay, that he'll fix it. For 31 days, you don't question anything that your father does. You don't question what he did. You just go along with it. I went in with the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. You know how many people go to the cops after going to the cops and they literally sit in the interrogating room because they're interrogated for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And they break down, right? And they finally confess to whatever they gotta confess to, right? I would have been told the police, like, bro, like, my dad is a cop, like, help me, like, he did this. No one knows what happened to the child. And I think based off of everybody's opinion about this case, I don't think we will ever know what happened. But, you know, my personal opinion, I feel like, okay, I have different theories personally. BH Cosmetics Nazanin Cavari brush. Casey says that there's always, I think she says, a kernel to the truth. So there's some truth in what she says, because apparently where Zenaida, the babysitter, lived, that was where one of her friends lived. And even her friend went on there talking about, yeah, that's where I lived, and kind of was a little bit supporting Casey, saying that she didn't believe that she killed her own daughter. Like, she does not think she's capable of doing that. There might be a kernel to the truth, you know, like a small fraction of her lie has truth in it. So I have a feeling that I think that she might have drowned. I feel like she wasn't looking after her. Maybe she was asleep. And instead of her father taking her out of the room, maybe it was that Caylee got up and she drowned. And she could not handle the truth, because she strikes me as a person that went into shock mode and she blocked it from her memory. And she's like, nope, this can't be true. So I'm going to create this whole entire story and I'm going to make it 10 times more complicated than what it really is. And yes, I do feel like her body language, a little sketch, reminds me a little bit of Amber Turd, which I do see that. Immediately when I saw it, I was like, bro, this is Amber Turd all over again. And I feel like people are not going to fall for that. A lot of people think she was genuine. I think when she is crying, that's genuine tears. I think that's the main difference between Amber Turd and her. And it's not Amber Turd. We already know it's Amber Heard. Like, that's the main distinguishing things, is that I see her tears and I do feel like they're genuine. But is it towards the fact that she lost her daughter, or is it towards the fact she lost the life that she always wanted? And isn't it peachy? I don't think they sell this anymore, which is sad, because I was trying looking for it, Makeup Obsession, and I don't think I see it. I think, I don't know, you have to do your own research if you want to get this palette, but I love it. But I'm gonna go in with the shade Glimmer. I feel like that is my perfect shade for winter. And you get more shades that are more darker. Okay, so this is what the makeup ends up looking like. I need to hurry up and finish this look because I only have 10% left on my camera. And I'm using my Sophia and Mabel lip oil, and I'm going to go in with my Lash Paradise mascara, but I am running out of time. That's what I get for filming so late. Like, I need new mascara because this is drying out. I feel like we will never know the truth, so I don't know. But with that being said, that concludes today's video. This is what the look looks like. I have so much more I could say, but like, this video is going to be extremely long. And like I said, you can always look this up on TikTok, look it up on Google, look it up on YouTube, and you will find a lot more information. There's a billion documentaries out there. You don't necessarily have to watch hers, because I feel like it's just, she gives you a runaround. If you're trying to watch this documentary to know what happened to Caylee, you're not going to get the answers that you need. And it's just going to be about her and about her experience. So if you care about learning about her experience, you can watch it. Totally up to you. No hate here. I just feel like the person who needs the most justice is Caylee, and unfortunately she's not getting it. So if this is something you like, if you found today's video interesting, let me know down below. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye!